Tom Shillue in for Greg on this very special edition of Gutfeld. Let's kick things off with some jokes, shall we? If they lose their court case over rejecting COVID vaccinations, 25,000 Amish are threatening to leave New York and could reach New Jersey in as little as 3 years. Jill Biden called Joe a hero for dropping out of the presidential race. Her husband responded by saying, when was I in the race? An Ohio wedding descended into chaos after 4 men crashed the reception and started a massive brawl. On the bright side, the fight lasted so long, no one had to do the chicken dance. Police in Canada announced a seizure that included a handgun, ammunition, knives, cocaine, fentanyl, and bear spray, or as we in New York City call back-to-school supplies. A family is furious after they ordered their daughter a Mary Poppins costume and instead received one of Kim Jong-un. In the company's defense, I understand the mix-up. Both only allow their people a spoonful of sugar. The NYPD is investigating the videos showing people in overalls emerging from a Manhattan manhole. Police say to please contact them if you have any information on these 2 suspects. And finally, Gavin Newsom said he didn't even know about the massive wine cellar in his Sacramento mansion and claims he put books in there. However, they found 5,000 bottles and only 1 book. Right. Okay. So, this week, Axios points out that we over here have known something for years. Democrats have a language problem, and not just the ones in Minnesota who speak Somali. And now several of them who are eyeing presidential runs in 2028 have started distancing themselves from all those dumb words that popped up in what AOC recently dubbed Woke One. But admitting they have a language problem only goes so far, because they still claim the things that they do are great, even though they've killed more people than slippery stairs. It's got to the point that some Democrats just want to stick their fingers in their ears and yell, la, 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 la. Here's Dem Congresswoman Debbie Dingell whining about Hassan Piker.
I am done, so don't any reporter ask me again about Hassan Piker. It's not what November is about. Republicans are trying to make it. They're trying to divide us. And we got to stop letting them try to divide us. I don't agree with Hassan Piker on a lot of stuff. And I really don't agree with him on some of the woman things he said.
But notice what she's doing there. She's not saying, I don't want to talk about him because I don't like him. She's saying, stop asking me about him because I don't want to talk about what our party has become, which is a pretty big difference. And that's the problem with this whole Democrats rebranding effort. Don't change the party, just change the subject. And that brings us to Hillary Clinton, who has another way of describing what's going on when it comes to the rise of Democratic Socialist candidates.
The Democratic Party right now is, I think, going through a kind of experiment. Like, who can actually respond, particularly to young people's very real concerns about where they are at this point in their lives and what kind of future do they have for themselves. And I think that's healthy.
Experiment? With what? You mean abolishing the Senate, the Electoral College, defunding the police, and ripping up the Constitution? I've seen experiments go better at the Wuhan lab. But what Hillary doesn't understand is that the Democratic Party has no use for them anymore. Not her, Bill, Joe, Kamala. Listen to what Iowa gubernatorial candidate Rob Sands says when it comes to old Joe and crazy Kamala.
Would you want to have Joe Biden here campaign for you?
No. Can he even do that right now? I'm sorry.
How about Kamala Harris?
No, thanks. Let's move on. We need some new leadership.
You don't think Harris should run in 2028?
Nope.
Wow. Pretty blunt. He turned them away faster than Greg at a grown-up roller coaster. And that's what this whole 2028 reset looks like. They're trying to move on from the people, the language, and the policies that got them here. And at the same time, they're showing they have no real agenda because they're already planning on running back their favorite play, impeachment.
Do you think it should be a priority with what you lay out of investigating the president and possibly impeaching him if you take the House majority?
Absolutely. I think holding this administration accountable and fighting corruption in all forms should be a priority.
There it is, the new Democratic strategy. New words, new faces, same old Trump obsession. But take away the Trump hatred and what's left? Not much, because even they have trouble defining what it is. Listen to Florida DSA Senate candidate Angie Dixon getting called out for wanting to push price controls.
Would you support on a federal level, therefore, rent control?
I mean, I definitely would support rent stabilization in certain areas.
And how would that differ from rent control?
And whatever, tomato.
So it's like you say DSA and I say communism. I wish we could call the whole thing off because that's the real problem with the language game. All they're doing is putting a new label on the same old can. Wait till voters figure out it's a garbage can. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He looks like the captain of the lesbian bowling team, comedian Joe Mackey. He just made the swimsuit cover of Chefs Illustrated, restaurant owner Andrew Brule. She's built like a pipe cleaner and swears like a plumber. New York Times best-selling author and Fox News contributor Kat. And he's broken so many achy, breaky hearts, old ladies call him Billy Ray. Tyrus, former underwear, one of the hosts for Planet Tyrus podcast, Tyrus. Okay, here we go, Tyrus. I got to get you in on this because...
Why, is this black people?
It's not black people. Listen, I watched you on The Five, and you made some very good points. I don't need you to reiterate what you said, but you...
I already forgot it. Thank you.
Well, talking about Hassan Piker
Right.
and the DSA, and you made a certain comparison that a certain other panelist objected to. I thought that was very
they
interesting.
got little feelers hurt because I compared him to David Duke. And what I'm saying is when David Duke ran, anyone who would have voted for him, they didn't get to say like, well, I disagree with his personal stuff, but his policy on economy is phenomenal. Like if you voted for David Duke, you were a white supremacist or a white supremacist supporter. If you are affiliated with Hassan Piker, you are an anti-Semitic person. You are, because that's all they talk about. So what they're doing is they're trying to convince the independents that they're not that far. But it's who they're with. It's who you are. Just own who you are. The thing is, though, is there enough people in Michigan to vote that way? Because if you vote Salim in, you have to own him for everything that he's in for. That you're supporting him. You can't splice it. They don't have a language problem. They have a substance problem. They try to camouflage the substance of who they are. And when you call them on it, they try to say, like, perfect example, George Bush, when he was asked about David Duke and the Republican Party, his quote was like, him. He has no place in our party. Not, oh, we're in the same tent and I agree with some of the things. No, he was like, absolutely not. He doesn't represent anything that I stand for. They're not doing that. So if he doesn't, they represent, he is who they are. And what's making me laugh about him is he's acting like the side chick who's writing a tell-all book on them because they're all like, oh, I'm not this and that. And he's like, oh, yes, they are. They were at my house yesterday. I have the text message right here. My boo was telling me that I was doing great. So own it because it's who you are. The question is, does the constituents have the stomach for who you really are? Because if you vote for him and he's in, then you got to own it.
Own it! I like that. Chef Gruhl, it's interesting. So Tyrus says they don't have a language problem. I think he's right. But they claim they have a language problem. They think if they can just change the language and they don't do land acknowledgments and all the other silly stuff they're known for, then they can win over voters. Do you agree?
Well, it's all manipulation. I mean, could you imagine at my restaurant if I called a steak a bovine-inspired culinary experience, right? Like, actually, that sounds delicious.
I know it does. I'm getting hungry.
Let me roll that one back. But you see, I think maybe 10, 20 years ago, the New Democrat Party realized that We've solved a lot of problems, and we've done it with Republican policies, and they wanted to create more problems, so they made up this language problem. Now it's all about words and feelings, etc. But at the root of the problem is the people, as Tyrus calls. The people in the party are what's festering in this communism that's spreading throughout. And Debbie Dingleberry says in her little speech there that we saw in the monologue that the Republicans are trying to divide us. No, we don't want to divide you. We want you all as one big massive stupidity because we see it for what it is. We have no interest in dividing you, which means you're trying to divide yourself, as Tyrus says, from the side chick. But the side chick is who you are, and you can't use language to cover that up because guess what? We're articulate, and we know what you're talking about.
Right on, yeah. Kat, it's interesting because they have, we heard from two people there, Debbie Dingell and Hillary Clinton. They had a different approach. She's basically saying, I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't want to talk about Hassan Parker. I want to talk what I want to talk about. Hillary is saying, like, I know they want different things from us, but I think that's great, you know, because it's just kind of fun. Like, they have a nice energy, and they're, you know, like, she thinks she can deal with it. But they don't like her. They don't want her in their party anymore.
Right. I was just going to say it is cute that Hillary Clinton is giving advice. Because I totally understand when they're asked, would you like Joe Biden to campaign for you? Would you like Kamala to campaign for you? It's like, would you like a public-facing reminder of the worst-run campaign that most people have ever seen? Probably not. But I understand why they would say they don't want to talk about Hassan Piker anymore. I think, you know, that's actually I'd say a better answer to the question than saying oh yeah, he's just part of our big tent. He's just, yeah, like whatever. I think that's smarter. But I will say, overall, everybody who is watching this probably pays a lot more attention to the nuances of what he said or she said or this person said. I think that for a lot of voters, it is all the same in the sense of that they might just be looking at what letter is next to it. Right? Whether it's Democratic Socialist person or just a Democrat, it's really just a Democrat at the end of the day, and these little factions. So I'm not sure how much it's going to matter. It is a big tent in the sense that it doesn't say, like, vote for communist or Republican. It's going to say vote for Democrat or Republican. And I think the louder that we can be, people who are capitalists can be about some of these things is good, but also providing our own solutions. Because I'm not sure that the average person knows that Hassan Piker electrocuted his dog.
Yeah, we remember that. That was
yes, I think about that every time I see him.
Yeah.
Every time I see him, I'm like, that's the guy that electrocuted his dog on camera.
Yes, during one of his live streams, he was zapping the dog because he didn't want it moving during the live stream, right? Yeah.
Which is insane.
I don't think most people know is because sometimes I forget, Kat. He's not even the candidate.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
Abdul Al-Sayed's the candidate. Hassan Piker, he's really just a live streamer.
Exactly.
But he's the one that is articulating what these Democratic Socialists stand for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, that's what they have to deal with. I don't know whether, Mackie, you've got people like James Carville. I almost respect him more because he's saying, get out of my party. I don't want, you know, like he's actually saying he doesn't want them in there. Hillary Clinton, who's, you know, pals with Carville and basically agrees with him politically, she's trying to welcome them in. Which one's going to work?
I'm not sure, but James Carville and Hillary have one thing in common, and that's that they're old. And I know I sound like I'm making a joke, but it's a fact of reality that older, more centrist Democrats, if you can call them that, are going the way of the dodo. And the weird thing is, I think anyone who calls a tomato has a severe language problem already because I've never heard anyone call a tomato a tomato. If you call a tomato, I'm like, what's wrong with you? You don't say tomato right. But here's what a lot of the smarter traditional Democrats are trying to do, if you can call AOC and Gavin Newsom that, is they were running in totally Democrat controlled areas. So they ran to their base, and now that they've got an eye on 2028, they're doing what's called running towards the middle. So basically what the strategy is, when you're running to Democrats, you act crazy because that's what they've been voting for. And then when you're running to get everyone's vote, you pretend to act normal. It's the same thing that Lorena Bobbitt did to try to get off from cutting off that guy's penis, which Democrats also want to cut off healthy penises.
He's right, because it's like the abusive husband approach. You're real sweet to her till you get her home. And that's what they're doing. And then you don't see the horrible things till after they get in there. So that's why they run moderate, like, oh, hey, I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I'm not that guy. And then once they say I do, then the abusive monster comes out.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.